What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Coin Rocket YouTube channel, where we are now boarding for one-way trips to the moon. So if you'd like to join us, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you there. So today we're having a conversation with my friend David. David is a smart guy, but he knows absolutely nothing about cryptocurrency. He doesn't know what a blockchain is. He doesn't know any of it. So today we're just going to have him ask me some newbie questions, and we'll see if we can learn something.
Pleb.
So, what's your first question today?
I would like to ask, especially with all the news happening right now with Bitcoin, I would like to ask if it's a good investment, if it's safe.
So, is Bitcoin a good investment? Really, that's kind of a subjective question that everyone has to ask themselves. But ultimately, it's never a good idea to invest like more than you can afford to lose in anything. So,
Sure.
there's obviously a calculated risk that comes with any investment. But Bitcoin has been performing really well compared to basically every other option. So I mean, when you compare cryptocurrency with just holding your money in a savings account or putting it into the stock market, the earnings that you're going to get are really nothing compared to what you could earn with cryptocurrency. So
Okay. So then that brings me to my next newbie question. What is cryptocurrency?
what is cryptocurrency? All right, that's a big question. To answer it as simply as I can, cryptocurrency is just a digital form of money. So basically, it's cryptocurrency is currency that is used or that functions using blockchain technology most of the time. There are a few exceptions that don't actually use blockchain, but 99% of the time they use a blockchain. And blockchain is kind of this new technology that Bitcoin introduced, which allows currency to be peer-to-peer while at the same time being completely secure. So before Bitcoin had invented blockchains, you couldn't have a decentralized medium of exchange with which two individuals could complete a transaction without the need of a third party.
Okay, gotcha. So right, so what you're saying basically is that like money, especially like United States dollar currency, there is that required third person, which would be the Federal Reserve, right?
Right.
Okay, so then cryptocurrency is more direct.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it's peer-to-peer. So
Right.
what that means is it's just if I want to send a transaction to you, I can just send it directly to you. I don't have to go through a middleman like PayPal, like Visa,
okay.
MasterCard.
So you can
whoever
set up,
else.
you can basically set up like almost a credit card or a wallet or something, and basically just pay from that directly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. All right. That brings me to my next question. Then is like, how did Bitcoin get started? Like,
How did
honestly.
Bitcoin get started? That's a good question. So basically, Bitcoin was the very first cryptocurrency, and it was invented anonymously by someone under the name Satoshi Nakamoto. He first published the white paper on Bitcoin, which was the first time anyone was ever introduced to this peer-to-peer method of transacting that actually solved the double spending problem and that allowed people to do transactions without the need of a third party. So this was back in around 2006 when it was
Okay, it's
first
fairly recent.
being created. Yeah, it's super new still.
Okay.
Um,
So then you mentioned double paying, right?
the double spend problem.
Yeah. What's the double spend problem?
So the double spend problem is a problem that used to exist before Bitcoin, which was where when people would try to create a digital form of money, there was a problem where you could send that same money to multiple people, and basically that would completely make your digital form of money not really function as money, because your money's not worth anything if you can just send it to a million different people and you still have that money, right? I mean, that's not actually a transaction. That's just you copying the money and putting it in different places. So the
Okay.
double spend problem was the problem where you could spend the same money multiple times, and Bitcoin solved that for the first time.
Okay, cool. That's actually a really good thing. So then I guess that's where I'm as just like a newbie getting into this and thinking about buying Bitcoin. I'm just really worried because I hear about the news. I hear about people, hackers, getting into Bitcoin, taking it down a little bit, and getting that currency. Which what's the current market value for one Bitcoin?
About $15,000 right now.
Yeah. So it was like what, 2 months ago, back in December, or no, or late November, and there was a hacker scare or whatever, and it dropped the Bitcoin from 10,000 to 9,000. But just for a brief moment, for like a couple of days.
Well, I don't know specifically what your question was, but the reason that Bitcoin goes down sometimes is because it can't go up every day forever, infinitely. I mean, it has to go down sometimes, and there's going to be days where it crashes. There's going to be days where the price goes down, but that's really when you should be buying more, when the price is low. So that you can sell or hold when the price goes back up.
Okay, so then I guess that just leads into my question, which is essentially can Bitcoin be corrupted? Now, what I mean by that is I'm asking if can the entire operation be taken over by an agency, something big like the NSA or FBI?
Well, if someone wanted to kind of take control of Bitcoin, it's a decentralized system, so you wouldn't really be able to control it. But let's say that you wanted to control the Bitcoin blockchain. Well, what you would have to do in order to do that is you would have to have most of the mining power, which would mean that you would have to have most of the computing power in the entire world under your control.
So then, like, let's say, for example, someone who does have a lot of power, like electronic power like that, something like, Google.
Right.
Like they're prime, right?
Well, they still wouldn't be able to actually control the Bitcoin blockchain because there's two things that prevent this. So the first thing is the difficulty of mining. So the difficulty of mining goes up as computers become more powerful, so that it never gets to a point where computers are so powerful that you can just mine 1,000 Bitcoins in a minute or something. And there's also the kind of entire consensus method, which means that even if you did control most of the computing power in the world, which, let me first say that Google they don't have enough computing power to be able to control Bitcoin, even if they used all of their servers just devoted to mining Bitcoin.
Okay.
They still wouldn't have enough.
So then I guess the next question for me is, and you mentioned it earlier and you gave a brief explanation of what blockchain is, but I guess what I'm really asking now is how does blockchain technology work?
So you can think of a blockchain like a chain of blocks. Each block contains information such as transaction time, the address that the transaction was from and where it's being sent, and the amount. And basically, you can think of a blockchain, like I said, a chain of blocks, but it's also kind of like a database or like a Excel spreadsheet, except it's each block in the chain is encrypted and they're tied to the block before it. So what that means is that in order to fake a transaction or hack the blockchain, quote unquote, you would have to have hacked every single block in the chain since the first block was created. Which
is why there are only really good hackers who can actually do that. So some hackers who are
there's nobody who can do that.
Okay, so then was that what I heard on the news about the hacker scare? Was that fake or?
Well, if you hear about Bitcoin getting hacked or whatever, it's not actually the Bitcoin blockchain being hacked. It's either an exchange or someone's personal account was hacked because they gave out their password or whatever it is. It's always human error whenever Bitcoin gets quote unquote hacked.
So then a lot of the scare is actually a misconception.
Right.
Okay, that clears that up. Thank you. I do have a couple more questions if you don't mind.
Sure.
I've studied a bit on Bitcoin, not too much, so excuse me if I have a little bit of like ignorance in this regard.
That's why you're asking these questions.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm really trying to figure out, and this is how I was told how Bitcoin works. Imagine if you were to take the blockchain for your particular Bitcoin, you get like a hexadecimal number, right? But it's a very long,
Right.
very, very long. It's like what, 26 digits or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's really, really long, and it's just randomized digits. And basically how that works and how it's not able to be hacked is because there are thousands of people across the world. More than, I think it's way more than 1,000 now.
It's millions.
like, yeah, millions now. It's millions of people have backup copies of that one particular hexadecimal along, well, just the blockchain in general. Not necessarily they have access to your wallet or your Bitcoin,
Right.
but they have access to the entire blockchain, and they've memorized, and they have their computers with saved up backup copies of the blockchain. And so millions of people have that, and in order to hack Bitcoin, you would actually have to hack those millions of people all at once.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, so I am on the right page then. That's good. So then that leads me into my next question is, like, how do you exchange Bitcoin? How does it work? Like, how do you use cryptocurrency?
You guys let the dog out and then leave her for me.
So my next question is, how do you exchange Bitcoin? How do you exchange cryptocurrency?
Well, there's a lot of different ways to do it. You can, first of all, preferably the method to do it is from your own wallet where you control the private keys.
Okay.
And your private keys are like your password. So you don't want to give anyone your private keys unless you want them to be able to send money from your account. And when I say account, that's actually just your like entry onto the blockchain.
Okay.
So there's no like account that you actually have. It's just a wallet address, and then however much Bitcoin is in that wallet, you can then send to another address.
That makes sense. Okay.
So the way it works is you give your public address to someone, and your public address is like kind of like a street address where people can send things to you, but they don't have like the keys to your front door to your house.
Oh, of course not. Yeah.
So
That's
they
good.
can send things to you, but they can't send things from your account with your public key.
Okay.
And so they send money to the public key, and it's taken from their account to yours. And basically, the miners are the ones verifying that transaction is legitimate and that the person who is sending the money actually has the funds to send, and that your address is a real address.
Okay, I have a few more questions if you don't mind.
Sure.
The next question I have is, what cryptocurrency should I decide on? Because a lot of people associate cryptocurrency with Bitcoin,
Right.
but I also know that there's like Ethereum and Litecoin and so
Right.
forth. What is the best, if there even is a best, to invest in for cryptocurrency?
Well, that's another really subjective question, and it's kind of constantly changing all the time. So
Okay.
Bitcoin is the biggest cryptocurrency, and to a lot of people it's synonymous with cryptocurrency. They don't even know the difference. They maybe
Sure.
think that Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency. And so for that reason, Bitcoin may be the biggest cryptocurrency for a long time to come, as it is right now and has always been. And so in that sense, you could say that Bitcoin is the safest bet because it's the least likely to go to zero. But also some of the other coins, they're a little more risky, but with that risk comes a higher potential for profits. So when you pick like a smaller cap coin that's lesser known, it has a lot more room to grow in its price action and its market cap size and stuff. So
Okay.
it's really about kind of your risk tolerance and like which coins you believe in the most, because they're not all going after just being a currency. Some of them are going after like social media or insurance or healthcare or supply chain and logistics, and all these different coins have different purposes, and they're not all the same, and they're not all being developed by the same team or anything. So you have to evaluate it as if it's like a stock. And
Okay.
determining which cryptocurrency to buy is like determining which stocks you should buy.
Okay, but to just like to get rid of confusion, I've been told that cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin, is a lot more secure than stocks or stock markets. And what I mean by secure is it is less risky as a financial investment. Is that true?
Well, it depends, because some people think that the stock market is in a bubble right now and that it could crash, but a lot of people think Bitcoin's in a bubble right now. And there's really nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows what's going to happen in 2019, 2020, even 2018. So, it you can look at Bitcoin as if a new technology like the internet that's still kind of in its infancy, and we could still be at the beginning of the dot-com boom right now, or we could be, towards the end where there's actually a lot of risk that nobody sees yet. So it's really hard to say for sure.
Okay. And one more question, and I guess that'll just be enough of my questions.
Okay.
And you can say whatever advanced things you want. I'm sorry, I'm still really new to this. I really want to know if you can use Bitcoin specifically and what banks you can use them with.
What banks can you use
Yeah, just
Bitcoin
like a
with?
useful question. Like, how can I use it right now if I want?
Well, those are kind of two different questions. So
Okay.
you don't use Bitcoin with a bank. Kind of the purpose of cryptocurrency is that you no longer have to use a bank. And so the way that you would, if you wanted to spend your Bitcoin, for example, at the store, there's a number of ways you could do that. So one way is you could just have your Bitcoin and just go to places that accept Bitcoin and then do like a regular Bitcoin transaction, which would just be like scanning a QR code or something and then sending, you choose the amount to send. But another way to do it that's much easier is you can now have like crypto debit cards and credit cards. And what those do is they kind of keep track of all your different holdings, and then they allow you to exchange your crypto for US dollars or whichever currency it is that the merchant accepts, and it converts the crypto right then and there into US dollars in real time. So you can spend crypto at any place where Visa cards are accepted or
Well, that's
wherever.
very useful.
Yeah.
Okay, so then basically, it's not that necessarily that banks use it. It's that you can do kind of not necessarily. It's like, I guess the banks would be the middleman at
Right,
that point.
right.
So what you're saying is Bitcoin or cryptocurrency is trying to get rid of the middleman,
Right.
and so you can go through a middleman like a bank, but
Yeah.
it would kind of defeat the purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then Bitcoin can be used. So I guess that leads into my next question is, do you think that Bitcoin is like the future? Is it the future of currency?
Sure. I mean, banks seem to think so. A lot of financial investors seem to think so. A lot of kind of techno geeks and everything, like people that are, in Silicon Valley, people that are developers, a lot of people from like the dot-com boom even, and really just everyone in the world is talking about Bitcoin right now, and it's definitely innovative. It definitely has changed the way people view money, and Cayenne, what are you doing? She got this thing mixed up.
Yep. This is Cayenne. She's the troublemaker. But yeah.
So is Bitcoin the future? Well, a lot of people seem to think so around the world, and it's certainly a new technology that is kind of in its infancy and that is revolutionary. The blockchain, Bitcoin's not the only cryptocurrency with blockchain. Most of them, almost all of them have blockchains, and blockchain is really the technology that is going to change the future possibly as much as the internet has. So with blockchains, you can...
That's a pretty big statement.
Yeah, it is. You can make basically any data, any information, any you can turn like any email or any kind of like time that you deal with data online into something that can be monetized and something that can be verified on a secure ledger that is maintained democratically and is decentralized and doesn't require like middlemen or third parties in order to garner trust between the two individuals.
Okay, that's all good information. So I got at least a crash course, I feel like. into it. So thank you for answering my question.
Yeah, I hope you learned something, and I hope this video was useful for anyone else out there who's a crypto newbie or beginner. And I thank you for watching. Remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching.